here we are again. In the NBA, we have another super team. What gives? As a fan of the NBA, I feel that the NBA is becoming more of a parody than the sport that I once fell in love with. Speaking of which is why I'm starting to separate myself from it a little bit, and it's becoming not competitive and not fun to watch anymore. And I think that is not a good thing. For example, we all witnessed that a super team brewing up in Brooklyn, New York right now with the Brooklyn Nets. And LaMarcus Aldridge signed with Brooklyn Nets when they already acquired James Harden, Blake Griffin, and then they already had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant all on one team. And I feel that we've gotten to an era to where you can just pair anybody with anybody now. And I thought that the NBA was moving in the right direction once we saw that super team in Golden State with Durant, Curry, and Clay, and Draymond, and that big team like that. And then they all dispersed, and we got we got duos. We had different duos on different teams, and they made it more competitive. Now it's like, okay, now the league is where it needs to be. Now we're back to square one yet again. And it's really not fun. And I feel like the NBA has a lot of issues going on regarding, I think the officiating has not been good. Super teams brewing like this, I just think that it's not as competitive as it used to be. I could not tell you the last time I was happy about an NBA game was probably when LeBron won his third ring with Cleveland. That's the last time I feel like I was truly happy with watching basketball. Even the bubble was better than what we're witnessing right now. The bubble was very competitive last year, and I just feel like the NBA has to do a much better job at making things more competitive and get better officiating. So I think the NBA is on a downgrade right now to me. Tying into that also, I think that the NCAA's basketball has just been superb. I think when I watch the men's and women's NCAA tournament right now, I think it's so competitive, and the guys and girls, they play with such heart and such competitiveness, and the refs let them play. Now, you don't want to see anyone get injured, you don't want to see anyone get hard fouls and stuff like that. So I think it's how NCAA basketball, March Madness and the tournament is being held. I think it's so great to see that these kids are being competitive, and that they are, really putting their heart and soul on the court. And I feel like I'd rather watch that every year than watch the NBA, what it's become right now. I love LeBron James, that's my favorite player, but I feel like once he retires, who do we have? I'm sure there's a lot of great talent out there, but who do we have left that we can say, hey, I have confidence that this is in good hands? It's just, I'm not too thrilled about where the NBA is headed, and I think it's just going down very slowly each and every year, and I think they have to change it. But the NCAA right now is better to me right now than NBA right now. For all of the individuals that say that what's going on in Brooklyn is somehow LeBron James's fault, I want to caution you. When it comes to super teams, what my definition of a super team is, especially in the NBA, is when you have a star-studded lineup like a Brooklyn Nets, like a Golden State Warriors. That was a superb, those are two significantly superior super teams in this day and age of basketball. When I hear, people like Stephen A, and I respect Stephen A, but I just want to question, how is this LeBron's fault that this is happening? When LeBron first joined the Miami Heat weren't a 73-9 team like the Golden State Warriors or a Brooklyn Nets team right now. That's not what Miami Heat was. And that team had to develop into what they become, and going to the back-to-back championships and having that whole run like they did at that time when I was in middle school. When you look at, let's start with Golden State. When you looked at Golden State, you already had Curry and Clay, and then Draymond was doing his thing, and you already had a team developed. You already had a team who won a championship prior to Kevin Durant coming there. So you already had two of the most lethal shooters that we've ever seen in Curry and Clay, and then Draymond being the defensive and that defensive piece that Golden State needed, that glue, that, you know, that confidence builder. You had him. You had so many different players on that team and they already won a championship. Then you bring somebody like a Kevin Durant who's so offensively sound, so offensively gifted, and you bring him to that, which was already a dominant team. That is a super team. That wasn't the Miami Heat. And, you know, for the whole time, it was not fun seeing a one-man show in LeBron James with Cleveland versus that. That was ridiculous. Then Durant leaves, and then we get the two duos. You know, you have so many duos throughout the league. You had LeBron and AD. You had James Harden and Chris Paul / Russell Westbrook. You had, you could say Murray and Joker too for Denver. You had Porzingis and Luka in Dallas. You had, then you have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. There's so many different, and then Clay and Curry barring injury. You had so many teams who were in duos. Then you had the Clippers, which was Kawhi and Paul George, and everything was kind of spread out. Now it's even now. But now it's back to a super team, and this super team I think is more lethal than that Golden State team because Harden, Kyrie, and Durant can all score 50 at any given point. It's just that this is what they do. Even though Curry and Clay can also, but those guys that's just their game, dribbling, you know, just putting on a show. And now it's like then you add LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, and it's like, you know, the team is stacked, heavily stacked, but that has nothing to do with LeBron James. The only reason why it has something to do with LeBron James is because they want to beat LeBron James. And the only way to beat LeBron James is to build a super team. So that's why I'm come to my standpoint where I think the NBA is not heading in a good direction. And I think that the NBA is becoming a cakewalk in a way when it comes to these super teams. And LeBron is my favorite player. I love LeBron and I want to see LeBron win, but it's just now it's not like competitive and it's not fun. And Kevin Durant being so talented as he is, why do you need that many people? James Harden, I hear all the time on sports talks how great these guys are, and they all need each other. That makes no sense to me. So basically, they're not as great as you guys may seem, as they may seem. They're gifted offensively. We all know that. But far as that gene of being competitive and wanting to win on your own, that is just that's something they all three of them do not have. And I want to touch base on James Harden and how he left Houston in the state that they're in. I have lost all respect for James Harden regarding how he handled Houston. I thought Houston was a contender for the past few years. I did. I feel like they could have went a lot of places, which they did, but they never got to that finals. And when I look at this Houston team, the Houston team is just sad. It's sad to see because you have so many great athletes on the team: John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and just a lot of guys who play their hearts out. A lot of guys who play very well and could be and that could have been a caliber championship squad. And it's not like Houston kept James Harden in the box. It's not like Houston tried to hold back or, you know, make James Harden's life there, you know, terrible. They tried to do everything they can. They got the people. They got Chris Paul, Westbrook. They had Clint Capella. They had a bunch of guys, PJ Tucker, Aaron Gordon, and then they had a bench. And they were competing. It's just James Harden did not deliver. When I see him putting up all these numbers, I'm not surprised. And people are like, oh my goodness, it's just because he's who he's on the team with. James Harden's been doing this. People act like he just started doing this. He's been doing this. It just comes down to when it gets to that playoff time, will he be that same guy and show up? And he hasn't. Now, it may be different because now there's no pressure. You have Durant. So if Harden has an off night, and when Durant comes back healthy, I can just, I can have an off night, but Durant's got it, or Kyrie's got it, and it goes for all three of them, vice versa for each three. And I just feel like James Harden left Houston in a very bad situation with a bad taste in their mouth, and Houston has been nothing but open arms and trying to help him win a championship, and he did not deliver because that style of play that he does was not going to win championships. So of course you go join a Kyrie Irving, a Kevin Durant. But we will see how this team is going to be in the playoffs. Because individually, each one of these guys individually has a lot of question marks about being a leader and putting their team on their back and delivering their team to the next level. In conclusion, the NBA is not what I need it to be right now. Like I said before, it's going in the wrong direction. I feel like the NCAA basketball tournament, male and female, has been more competitive and more fun to watch for the past few years than the NBA right now. And just seeing these young athletes put their heart out and play really hard and just really compete and play aggressive, and I love to see that, and I want to see that in the NBA because there's a lot of great guys out there, but I highly doubt we'll get that NBA again. I think this is a very passive NBA right now. I don't think the NBA is tough like it should be, like it once was, and I think it needs to go back to that. You don't want to injure anybody, you don't want to do things like that, but I would love to see more intensity and more competitiveness in the NBA right now.